Hello, my name is Tim Bird. I am the Regional Director for Campus Outreach at Lusaka, Zambia. I work for a church here called Kapwata Baptist Church. Um, I've been in Africa for about 19 years. Most of that was in South Africa. I spent 13 years there. In the last 5 years, I've been involved in serving at my local church here. I'm helping with college ministry reaching university students. My introduction to missions pretty much started when I was at UNC Charlotte. My wife and I both graduated from there. In undergrad, I studied African Studies, and that introduced me to more deeper connection with Africa. I was just always curious, even in high school, and so I wanted to major in that. And around that same time, I became a Christian. So my desire for the Lord and my interest in Africa continue to grow at the same time, not the same pace, but the same time. And going into my senior year, I was invited to a cross-cultural project with Campus Outreach to South Africa. And I was all for it. I couldn't believe that I could go to Africa, and I also couldn't believe that I would be able to share the gospel there. And that's my main purpose. And so going there, I was there for 9 weeks. Coming back, I think God really used that to really open my heart to missions. Before that, I wanted to lecture or teach history, coach basketball, be a faithful member of my church, wherever that was. But going on that short-term mission trip really opened up my eyes to, I could actually do this. I could actually make disciples and give my life away in another context. So that's actually how I got to South Africa. So I graduated, and then about 6 months later, I packed a suitcase and basically, raised most of my support, some of it. And they needed help, so I left and basically was there for 13 years, got married several years after that. But it's been a joy to be here serving. While in South Africa, I saw God do a lot of great work in the hearts and lives of South Africans. Lots of my close friends in the world are there at this point. But I've seen God raise up laborers in the workplace, many pastors, elders, lots of lay leaders, missionaries. It's just been amazing to see so much happen in the last over a decade there. In that time, some men that I was discipling from the University of SEBTS got a hold of a sermon from Paul Washer, and he was speaking about a pastor named Conrad Mbewe. And they heard about him and said, "This guy's just above Zimbabwe. Let's go up there." So I encouraged them to do so, and they ended up coming up here. It was 2 guys that I discipled, and one of those guys had a disciple, and they took a bus up from Johannesburg to Lusaka, Zambia, about a 30-hour bus ride, and served the church, knocked on doors, did ministry. Their pastor back in Johannesburg was excited. Pastor Conrad, Pastor Chipita here were excited, and that was the beginning of me knowing more about Zambia, really. From then on, those same guys would begin, they graduated and would begin to start short-term missions trips to Lusaka from South Africa every December. And for 3 years, it just kept growing. And by 2012, one of the guys, he was an engineer, he just said, "Hey, look, I just see God really working there. I think Campus Outreach should be there. Let me buy you a ticket so you can at least see what's happening there." I'm like, "Man, I would love to go." I just didn't have an opportunity, so I went with him, and he was right. I fell in love instantly. 2 years later, I led a team of students, finally in a position as a ministry to actually take a team ourselves. So being on a mission trip now, I'm leading a mission trip from South Africa with South Africans to Zambia, and it's just, I just saw the need. By then, I had been in South Africa for 11 years, and there's a man that I was already training to take my place, local South African. And so my wife and I began to pray about our future. We really saw the potential of, if we can reach Zambians with the gospel and all that is happening in the church. I don't even have time to explain all that's happening in the churches here, all the work that they do with intern pastors from across Africa, creating university, the ACU, African Christian University, look it up. They're creating universities, training pastors. And I'm thinking, if we can get university students connected to this thought, then they could go to the nations. I mean, we're just a stone throw away from the 1040 window. And that's what my wife and I are passionate about. It's either we're going or we're mobilizing. And we believe God has called us to mobilize from Africa. And so we prayed about it, and we ended up leaving South Africa in 2018 with our family and moving up here to Zambia, and just seeing guys kind of start to work all over again, starting from scratch. It was just myself full-time on the campus. My wife would help out when she could, as we're homeschooling. And so, and then the ministry began to grow. We hired 2 Zambians, brought up a South African, an American, and now we are about 9 staff here, just serving and growing and seeing God reach many students. So we're in our 5th year, like I mentioned, and we just finished our 3rd leadership project. We had about 56 students involved. We had 2 projects because we couldn't house all of them at one place, and so we had 56 students total from several universities throughout Lusaka. And God is just raising up, laborers, and it's just been a blessing to see Him move in that way. I think my encouragement to you all as missionaries, particularly African Americans who are interested, I would say the harvest is plentiful, the labors are few. When you look at statistics, it seems that very few African Americans are actually on cross-cultural mission, but there's a great need. Many of my African friends ask me, where are you guys at? Where are you as missionaries? Statistically, I read somewhere that there was less than approximately 300 African American missionaries on cross-cultural missions today. And we want to change that. We want to see more and more African Americans going to the mission field. Our family of 6, we want it to be a vision. We want to be a model that it's possible to raise the funds and to connect and to serve in a way that honors the Lord, even though in our context a lot of people aren't doing it or aren't aware of it. So my wife and I don't turn down opportunities to share with Black church, African American churches, or anybody, but especially in those situations and spots where missions is rare or rarely spoken of. And so we want to encourage you all just to be faithful where you are. And if God is laying this on your heart, don't run from it. Open up your mind and your heart to it, and just pray about it and see what God is doing. Our team has grown now. We're, like I said, about 9 individuals, and almost half of our team is African American. So appreciate you guys. Definitely be praying. I hope you enjoy your missions event, and if we can be of any resource to help at all in the future, look us up at CL Serve. Again, I'm Tim Bird. God bless you guys. Take care.